Post-Christmas got a beard, but yeah, it's that prime time to do some stuff. We're actually going to take a step back today. I'm going to find the page that I read in this lovely book, Austin 7 Specials, Building, Maintenance and Tuning by L.M. Williams. So we're going to have a look at some chassis upgrades. We're actually going to be taking a few steps back. What it actually says in the book is the ultimate upgrade for the chassis is actually just to build a completely new one. But then you're basically building a new vehicle and it gets very complicated and stuff, especially in the UK. And right, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to do what else it suggests, and that is to box it in. The standard production Austin 7 chassis frame hardly varied from the time of its introduction until the very last model, the Big 7. It was similar in shape to the letter A and has therefore become known as the A-frame. Like many other makes of car chassis, it has its faults, some of which can be eliminated completely and others only partially. Most of the older pre-war cars, including the Austin 7, used U-shaped channel section steel for the chassis side members. And although these frames were cheap and simple to produce, torsional strength was very low. The designers depended on the flexibility of the frame to compensate for the rather inadequate suspension. Modern independent suspensions demand a very rigid chassis, since any form of flexing would upset all the carefully calculated geometry. Yeah, so basically we have independent for suspension on the front. So in the long and short, it's basically saying a good thing to do, kind of like proper old school special style, is just boxing in the bottom of these. So that's what we're going to do now. Nice and simple.
So like every project, there's always a bit where you take 10 steps back, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be taking the whole front end off again, just so we can get to all of the gubbins of the frame. And who knows, before it goes back on, it might even get more complicated. We might have a look at those radius arms and do a couple of trick modifications to those too, to make it a little bit even more rigid, especially when braking. Anyway, we're going to turn it around, and as you can see, I'm a bit slow, and it was like, what's going on? Oh, I'm inside the frame. I'm a bit of an idiot. So I climbed out of it, and that meant we could turn it around, because we're going to be turning it upside down, because the boxing in happens on the bottom. The first thing we're going to do is remove the front cross member. I didn't realise, but this was already pretty loose. It's riveted in at the minute, so I drilled through the rivets. We're going to replace those with bolts and nylock nuts, and that's exactly what it says to do in the book. So if the book says Sam monkey see, monkey do. Another thing we're going to remove are these two bar holders that are also riveted in. This was for the brake bar on the rear brake for the cables, but we're going hydraulics, so it's
we're
okay.
Basically going to box it in on the inside from here. Just a little bit of metal that goes from here right out to there. A couple of water holes and it's done.
It's no real modification, because we're just going to grind off the surface of it and just put a solid seam weld from the top to the bottom. It's basically adding a bit of strength to the whole situation. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just cleaning it off using some weld-through primer, and we're going to weigh what we're going to use. This is exactly enough metal to use, and that's 1 kilogram. But these that we removed are 500 grams, so it's basically 500 grams added, so it's not that bad. Anyway, I'm going to chop these into slices, and we're going to basically put them on the inside and just weld them in. It's going to be that simple. So I'm just popping them in slowly, and then yeah, put some weld-through primer on that as well, and then just put some patch welds on there just to hold it all in place and see how it goes. This steel is pretty thin. It's what is it? It's like 1.2 millimeters thick. It's basically as thick as what they said to use. You will be amazed how much that strength that can add for the weight, but it's good. And then slowly but surely going to different spots of it, basically to stop heat bending and heat warping. I'm just going to add a bit here, a bit there, and a bit there, and then you know, this method of welding can end up a little bit messy, because it's all, you know, you're spotting it here, spotting it there, you're not really doing one full thing, but then you grind it down and it makes a nice clean seam. So yeah, after a fair bit of grinding, you end up with a really nice finish, in my opinion anyway. I'm sure other people will think it could be done better, but how does the old adage go? What is it? A welder and paint makes me the painter I ain't? Something like that anyway. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Did the same on the other side as well, and yeah, I'm running out of things to say for this. You just weldy. Doop-a-doo. And that's me grinding a little bit more. This is definitely one of those jobs for the old Masky-Wowski. Just got to clean it up after. How's your day been anyway? Having a good day? Oh, and a bit more primer. Oh, and I also added some drain holes. And I did, for the rust nerds, put some cavity wax in there. Oh, what about god, the cavity works, it's gonna rust away. Don't worry, I did do that, but I just didn't feel like filming it. Why is everybody obsessed by rust-proofing stuff? I mean, you just spray it on, and if it does rust, you use the ultimate rust-proofer, which is a welding stick. But anyway, we're gonna be painting it. As you can see, I've drilled some extra holes for where the steering rack mounts and also the engine holes. It was a bit of an afterthought, but my style is, let's say, accidental. So now we're going to be putting the bolts and the nylock knots on, making them very nice and tight. And to be honest, even if I just did the bolts instead of the boxing in, it would have already been more rigid.
The bottom of the chassis is now boxed in. It's got a clean seam weld around the whole thing. It's merely adding to the chassis a bit of strength. It does say in this that you can actually cut off these outside kind of bits that stick out. We're not going to do that because that would actually be a proper modification, a serious modification, so I'm not going to bother. So for the sake of actually only adding 500 grams to this setup, it's not bad. Anyway, now we're going to be making a bracket to go in the middle. Ooh. There's no real talk of anything like this in here because 1929 onwards there was actually a bar that went from here to here, but in 1926 and before there isn't any blooming thing whatsoever. Remember, this is upside down, so the thinking is the radius arms. These are the things that we actually boxed in as well, like this. They connect over to each of the front wheel hubs and they both kind of direct down to this point here where there's a hinge that bounces up and down. When you brake, that wheel goes like that, and actually a lot of the force gets forced down into this point right here. That's actually why we boxed in the radius arms, because we've gone for hydraulic brakes. But like I said, from 1929 onwards there was a bar that went from here to here. So I don't know whether it's necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. Screw it. So we've got a few choices. Initially, I was actually going to do a kind of A-frame inside of this, so it'll double up as a bit more of a rigidity adder. So we actually make a bolt-on bracket that connects to the back of where the radius arm connects. Then there's two bits of metal that go off and actually connect to the back bolts here that connect to the leaf springs. So it's like two bits. But I've been thinking, Sam, you're overcomplicating it. That's an extra... pretty much an extra 2 kilograms. I know I bring up the weight talk a lot, especially when it's small amounts that you could probably solve by eating less Sunday roasts. But every little bit adds up and it's nice to be conscious of it. This is about 1 kilogram here. Oh, you could probably cut some holes into it and stuff. But we could put this going along like the original, going along that way. I'm still a little bit undecided about whether the A-frame is a bit too complicated for this. But like the commenters that have mentioned this sometimes, we love overcomplicating things that are completely insignificant. But because it's about making a stupid video, let's make the A-frame for shits and giggles.
I embarked on this project by starting by using this nice chunky thick bit of steel to be able to make a few brackets to be able to bolt to the back of where the actual radius ball joint connects, and then also remove the bolts to connect to the leaf springs on the back. These also have these lock tabs, so we're going to be able to tab over the back of this mount so the lock tabs still work, of course, and the threads on these bolts are actually long enough to be able to take this extra adapter, so I think it's going to be rather snazzy. So we're going to bolt these in, so we're going to weld it all in place and then take it off and finish it off. So chugga chugga chugga, ugga dug dug. As you can see, plenty of space, maybe it's slightly longer, but I think it'll be all right. Now we're going to basically size it up. This goes in the front of it. As you can see, it will bolt around the back of the bolts for that radius arm, taking all that force from that brake and stuff. So now we're going to weld a little bit of a standoff on it so we can actually get the bolts in when we bolt it in. This is me being kind to future Sam, who's going to be like, "Bloomin' heck, Sam, why did you put an angle right there? I can't get the bolts in really easily." Anyway, we're going to bolt this in place, as you can see, with a few bolts. These aren't the bolts that we're actually going to use, but they're going to just hold it in so we can weld it all together so it's all nice and straight. And now we're going to get a bit of box section. This is the reason I went for this is because I had it, and it's reasonably small, but not too small. Smallish. And we're going to cut an angle in it so we can bend it over, so we can make a nice thing. I've seen this on those fancy socials videos, you know, where they do a job and then they edit out all the bad bits and kind of just jump it in. It's basically exactly what I do as well, but we're just going to put that there and kind of eye it up. Sort of looks like it's going to work. This was after a few bits of grinding. You're missing all of the swear words, by the way, in this bit. I was like, why is it not fitting? Oh, cutting it and fiddling around. So now I cut a little diamond to be able to fit it into that point at the front, and this, I was going to kind of bring that further down and kind of make it neater, but it already butts up against the chassis nearly there, so I figured let's just send it and build it like this.
For whatever, for better or worse, it's there and it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to take it off, clean it up, paint it, prop it back on. Ooh! For the people interested, what are we adding weight-wise to this stupid car?
Oh God, we've added about 2 kilograms of all of this in this video. So yeah, I've just got to cut down on the Guinness and it's fine.
Okay, so it's quite a few days later now. I am now, through this project right here that I've been doing shorts on. I've got a long form version of it coming along as well, the cylinder head, but I'm waiting for some gasket solutions for the top of that. So we'll get on that, but back on this now. I did get sidetracked. I did somewhat procrastinate a little bit, but yeah, I'm going to plonk it in. It's actually in now, but I'm going to take it off for the purpose of demonstration. It's like finding water. Where's the water? Where's the water? So yeah, I think this is a good idea. It's light, and it's just another triangle. And then when we plump it back together in the next video, when we finally get the axle done, which is over here. So yeah, when we finally get all of the axle talking, we finally get this from it. Well, after procrastinating by making that, we can jump back onto machining of these beauties. So let's plonk it on and take a little look-see. Oh, how am I doing this? It's hard doing it upside down. Right, so pop that in there. Pop that there. Pop that there. I think it's a good solution for not having like a serious, modifications. This is not a serious modification, it's literally bolt on, and it looks like a triangle. It looks pretty awesome, actually. I think that looks really cool. Well, you're not going to see it, are you? But, yeah, it's just a triangles and triangles. Just another rear triangle for the whole shebang. Looks pretty good, right? So yeah, keep an eye out for the engine cylinder head being put on the Austin 7. If you haven't seen it already, I've been making shorts. Check the shorts there, those kind of, what is it, horizontal or is it vertical? Vertical videos, I've got up to the point of taking the head off that, and I'll be getting it started and stuff. I've shot so much footage of the long form version of that video. I'm going to upload a pretty long version of it over on Patreon in the next couple of days when I finish putting all the footage together. There's a lot of editing, but so if you want to see how the long form with all of the thinking of why I did what with the cylinder head and stuff, before a little bit more meat to it, then check it out there. But if not, I'll be putting up a shorter version of it and stuff next week. Anyway, so yeah, that is this. That's the AUSSIE 7. Oh, it feels good. And then yeah, hopefully in the next video it'll have 4 wheels. Yes. Oh, progress. Nothing like a Christmas week where you can just get on with stuff like this. Lovely jubbly.